Everywhere finally burst in the early hour of today as Tinubu was caught on camera crying in a live meeting. Plo Lumumba was invited, and when this man came from Kenya to make a speech in a particular meeting where he was invited to, Tinubu was present there. A lot of Nigerian politicians, all of them were there. But the moment when Plo Lumumba made mention of some things that to APC is not supposed to mention, Tinubu began to cry and began to wipe off his face. You will see everything in this very video. You will hear what this man said that got Tinubu crying in the early hour of today, and the crying was unstoppable. Tinubu was disgraced all over the whole Africa in a live meeting, because the meeting is comprised of all African leaders. Tinubu was disgraced to the extent that all African leaders were laughing at him. They were making jest of him. Tears came out of his eyes. It was caught on camera. I'd like us to stay connected to the end of this video. They say the truth to the face of Tinubu. So if you can share the video, enjoy, share it, and if you can share it, just like it. Like the video, give it a thumb up so that it will be recommended for us. We'll then stay connected and coming back again.
Welcome you back to LAJUPOG TV.
I don't have bad news for you today.
The home of religious gossip.
But you should believe you find for Mohammed.
What is happening in the Christendom? Join now to make sense with LAJUPOG.
Hello my great and wonderful viewers, welcome back to LAJUPOG TV. For those of you coming across the channel for the very first time, ensure you click the registration button appearing on your video screen. At the same time, click the notification bell icon so that whenever we drop a new video in few hours time, YouTube will instantly let you know by notifying you. A lot of things is happening in the political space right now, so I'm going to open your eyes. I'm not going to waste much of your time on this very video. Tinubu cried in the early hour of today the moment Plo Lumumba make a speech. Plo Lumumba is a very good activist of Africa, and this man is from Kenya. He always come out to talk about Africa revolution, how Africa is going to liberate itself from all these colonial masters and all of that. But today, this man spoke about Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He spoke about Nigeria, and Tinubu got into tears because there are a lot of Nigerian leaders there, and there are a lot of other African leaders, including other presidents of different countries in Nigeria. Ghana president and some other presidents in Nigeria were on seat when this man made mention of this thing. And when he made mention of this speech, all the eyes of Nigerian leaders that were there, all their eyes changed. They couldn't shed tears, but Bola Ahmed Tinubu shed tears in the early hour today because they never expected that to come out from the mouth of Plo Lumumba. And that's the sad truth. The problem we face in Nigeria is that we can never come out to call a spade because we are scared of all these leaders. But an external have come to come and confront them to their eyes, and they have called them names. You will see what Plo Lumumba said in this very video. I will show you the video. You will see it yourself. You will see how Tinubu was wiping his face. So if you can share this video, ensure you share it. Share it to different social media platforms. Let it go viral so stay connected to the end of the video. And if you cannot share it, just like it, give it a thumb up so that it will be recommended for us. Because what this man said in this very video is what a lot of Nigerians need to listen to. A lot of things is happening in Nigeria, and a lot of things is happening in Africa, which our leaders are very, very insensitive about, because all these colonial masters, whether we like it or not, we have not freed ourselves from them totally. We are still enslaved to them one way or the other. Let me cite an instance. If you are going to UK now, for an instance, if you are going to United Kingdom, you will need a visa. They will demand a visa from you, and now they are even regulating how many number of Africans can actually come to their countries. Yes, they are regulating how many number of Nigerians can come to their country, and whether we like it or not, they still deport many of our people back to Africa and all of that. That is what is going on in the space of the immigration and all of that. Now they're deporting a lot of Africans. Now tell me, if they are coming to Nigeria on an instance, if all those people in United Kingdom, if they are coming to Nigeria, all their citizens, did they demand for a visa in Nigeria? Did they need a visa to come to Nigeria? Did they need a visa to go to any African country? Even to the extent that when they come to our country, we'll be pampering them as if they are golden eggs. But now, if you go to their country, they treat us as if we are not even God-men, we're not existing. And this is caused by our leaders, because our leaders are still putting us as slaves in their hand. And Plo Lumumba come out and he have been saying all these things right from time. But the one that he said today, he shocked everybody. Tinubu did not expect it. He categorically speak to Tinubu. He categorically speak to Nigeria. Nigeria has sink down under the hand of Tinubu, because it was Tinubu that brought Buhari, and Buhari took Nigeria back. The 8 years of Buhari, he took Nigeria back to 50 years back, and now Tinubu entered there. Is now getting to 12 months now in few days. And after getting to 12 months, if you calculate how many years Tinubu take Nigeria back, it's more than 200 years. Nigeria is backward 200 years now. That's what is happening. People cannot afford to eat 2 square meals in the country. A lot of people cannot afford good education. A lot of people cannot live a good life in the country. Even civil servants that are working for government, they are suffering. Pensioners are suffering. They're dying of hunger in this country called Nigeria. And yet, these leaders will go out on their luxurious cars. They will go out on different places in Africa, in Europe, in America, and all of that. They will go to different places in the country. They will go to different places in Africa. They will go to different countries in the world. And yet, nobody will come out to tell them the truth to their face. Even in their country, nobody have the mind to tell them the truth to their face. The little number of people that are telling them the truth to their faces, they are confronting them, they are bullying them, they are harassing them, they are dehumanizing them, doing all sorts of things now. And next time have come, and when this man said all these things, big shame catch all Nigerian leaders, because they never expected what Plo Lumumba said. This is a big shame to them, because all African leaders make jest of them. They laugh at them. For them to be laughing at the leaders of Nigeria, it has finished. Tinubu crying the earlier today. Just stay connected as I show you the video. I'm coming back again.
From where I sit, leadership is about service. Leadership is about honor and privilege to serve. That is why I still understand the men of old, the men of wisdom who said, he who is greatest amongst you must be your servant. This is what Africa is asking for. And Africa has been asking this question since she regained her independence. You know, when one is talking about leadership in Africa, one must go into history and ask ourselves, what was leadership before we were rudely disrupted? We had our traditional rulers. How did they govern? For whose benefit did they govern? They are still there, the traditional rulers. How do they fit in the new dispensation? When we regained independence and adopted all these structures from the erstwhile colonizer, what did we expect to deliver? That great American Pan-Africanist John Hendricks Clark says that when Africans regained their independence, not a single one of them re-examined the style of leadership. All of them continued with a mimicry of the leadership that they inherited from the colonizer. And he then delivers this verdict: not a single African country will ever succeed by mimicry. And I want to submit to you that whether one agrees or disagrees with John Henry Clark, one must look at Africa in order to ask ourselves, what is the state of leadership in Africa? And permit me to run you across the continent of Africa, and you will see a continent that is not at ease. The continent is not at ease because the continent is suffering from a deficit of leadership. Look at Africa today. Tell me whether we are at ease in Niger. Tell me whether Mali is settled. Tell me whether there is quiet and calm in Chad. Tell me whether Guinea-Bissau is doing well. Tell me whether the Cameroons are stable. Tell me whether Central African Republic is good. Tell me whether Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia, Ethiopia, Northern Mozambique, and all these countries where there is peace and quiet, whether the sons and daughters of this country, tell me whether even this great Nigeria is at ease. Tell me. The answer is, she is not. And I dare say that as long as Nigeria is not at ease, Africa will never be at ease. Why? When the British left their colonies, they created something that they called the Commonwealth of Nations, to which Nigeria belongs. In that Commonwealth of Nations, the head is the British monarch. When the Queen dies, the King becomes its head. It is headquartered in London. It is the Commonwealth of Independent and Free Nations. It is not. It is a post-colonial, neo-colonial institution which continues to massage the ego of the erstwhile colonizer as we celebrate. Through such institutions, they continue to control and to manipulate us. And many of us, particularly those of us who have had the advantage of foreign education, we never want to talk ill of bodies such as the Commonwealth. I do. And it's not only the British who did it, the French did it under Francophonie. In order to control their former colonies and to make sure that they remain within their sphere of influence, they created a body which is alive and well. In the former French colonies, it's even worse. They even print their currency. The Portuguese did it. So, in as much as African leaders have been trying to ensure that we change the circumstances of our people, there have been external attempts at torpedoing those efforts. And Africa and African leadership must be seen in those contexts. There are those in many African countries who have allowed themselves to be acolytes of the neo-colonizers and to the detriment of the continent of Africa. So when we interrogate leadership, we must ask ourselves, how free are our leaders? How free are our politicians from external influence? But is that an excuse? No. It cannot be an excuse. Leaders in a multi-ethnic environment must also be different. You know, Nigeria, as Chinua rightly said, like all African countries, is an artificial entity. Chinua says in his book, The Trouble with Nigeria, that there is nothing comparable to how the European nations were created. There is no Nigerian, Chinua Achebe says, in the same way as there is a Danish or a Swedish or a Norwegian. Nigeria is a unique state with many states. The same is true of Kenya. The same is true of Ghana. Nigeria possibly has over 500 nations within her. Tanzania 136. The Democratic Republic of Congo 306. Kenya 42. Uganda 56. In order to be a leader in such countries, those who have the honor and privilege must be men and women who are prepared to ensure that they weld the bonds amongst those people. As Samora Moises Machel said, if the post-colonial African country is to succeed, the tribe must die. And the tribe must die because if the tribe does not die, then the new nation will never thrive. And I did not understand Samora Moises Machel to say that he should stop being a Yoruba. No. I did not understand him to say that he should stop being a thief or to stop being an Igbo or Hausa or a Fulani. No. Those are cultural mosaics which when put together make our nations beautiful and strong. But what do we do in most of Africa? We use those cultural differences to divide the people. We use those cultural differences to reinforce centrifugal forces and therefore threaten the very nation which we want to serve. I am telling all of us who are present here, and many of you who are present in this assembly, who are honored and respected and claim to be leaders, that you have a duty to ensure that you are in front in order to serve and not to be served. Who is a leader? Is he a leader who allows meta-ignorance to reign supreme amongst the people he or she is leading? Is it the duty of a leader to ensure that he leads men and women who are enlightened? Men and women who can question what he or she is doing? I'm suggesting to us that true and sustainable leadership also requires that you have a followership that is enlightened, a followership that calls you to account, a followership that is going to make demands of you, a followership that when you say that you are going to improve the quality of their food, they do not believe that agriculture stops on that day, but they believe that agriculture must be intensified and the technology must be used. A followership which knows that when you say you are going to deliver heaven on earth, they know that that is merely an advertisement that you are incapable of delivering heaven on earth. A followership that knows that when you are promising to do things within 100 days, which ordinarily can only be done in 5 years, they know that you are a liar. A followership that is capable of discerning that when you speak things, there are many variables, and it is the duty of a leadership to ensure that such a leadership is indeed created. What do African leaders do? African leaders in many African countries have now assigned the question of education, educating their followers to NGOs and CBOs, which are financed by the Americans, which are financed by the Europeans, which are financed by other civilizations. How do you think, how do you imagine that the people of Denmark would have the interest of Nigeria at their heart? How are you satisfied that all those civic education activities that are being undertaken in Borno, in Maiduguri, or in Abeokuta, financed by USAID, are meant to be for the benefit of Nigeria? Because the last time I checked, the English used to say, he who pays the piper calls the tune. So today, when you look at most of Africa, we have a followership that is tuned from outside. It is not a followership that is tuned from inside. And you wonder why they behave the way they do. They behave the way they do because they are being tuned by other civilization. 3 years ago, an old friend of mine, now gone to be with the Lord, was engaged in a conversation with me. And I was complaining about the leadership, and he told me, I hear you, young man. You're always complaining about leadership in Africa and other parts, but have you ever wondered about the followership? Says you are complaining about the windmill, but do you ever bother about the wind? Is it not the case that the windmill follows the wind? I'm suggesting to you that Africa will never realize our potential as long as the critical mass of our people are immersed in sorrow and want. I am suggesting to you that Africa is not going to grow as long as you who are in positions of leadership have perfected the art of appealing to the stomachs rather than the minds of the men and women that you lead. I'm suggesting to you that Africa is not going to realize our potential as long as we continue to conduct the politics of money and money bags, not the politics of ideas. I'm suggesting to you that Africa is never going to realize our potential as long as we are dividing our people along ethnic lines. I'm suggesting to you that as long as you who are in positions of honor and privilege are in the business of dividing our people on the basis of religion, Africa is not going to realize our potential. I remember in 1982, I watched a movie about Mahatma Gandhi, and I remember that great man saying in one of the scenes in the movie that he remembers one day, when somebody who was more enlightened than the other preachers came, and he said that on that day, he saw that preacher reading from the Muslim Quran on to the Christian Bible, on to the Jewish Torah, on to the Hindu Gita, and on to incantation in African religion, as if it did not matter which book was being read as long as God was being worshipped. I look forward to the day when those of you who are in positions of leadership will be able to tell our people, wherever they are in Nigeria or Africa, that it is not for us to fight for God. If I have a God for whom I have to fight for, that is not a God. It's true that we men and women are in unique positions. Abu Bakr, Olusala, Saraki. If Africa wants to be at ease, Nigeria must be at ease. She is the largest economy in Africa. She has a population of over nearly 200 million people. 1 in every African is a Nigerian. She is represented in every sector. If you want the best engineers in the continent, they are Nigerians. If you want the best doctors, they are Nigerians. If you want good lawyers, they are Nigerians. If you want good people, they are Nigerians. But also, if you want Yahoo boys, they are Nigerians. Nigeria is a great country. A friend of mine once told me that if you go to any part of the world and you do not find a Nigeria, leave that place, because there is nothing to do there. Nigerians are present everywhere in the world, everywhere in Africa, and Nigeria, I'm told, is a $500 billion economy. Never ever be proud of that, Nigerians. This is an economy that should at least be a $4 trillion GDP economy.
Thank you for staying connected, my great and wonderful viewers. You can hear what Plo Lumumba said in that very video. You know, this is a big shame to Africa, and this is a big disgrace to Nigeria. You know, for that man to come out to call a spade a spade. He was invited to Abuja, and you know, he's from Kenya, and this man is a very popular activist as far as Nigeria is concerned and as far as Africa is concerned. He always come out to call a spade a spade. He come out to talk about African revolution and how Africans are going to liberate themselves totally from all these colonial masters and all of that. That is what he's after, and how Africa can become a better continent under the world, and that is what this man is after right from time, and everybody know him for that. But in this very video, he spoke categorically on Nigeria. He said Nigeria is not a country that's supposed to be suffering. Nigeria is not a country that's supposed to be the way it is, because Nigeria have all the resources it need. It have all the money it need, but it's just the mismanagement and unnecessary allocation of funds and spenderous life of our leaders that is affecting the economy of Nigeria. As at now, he said the economy of Nigeria is not supposed to be around $500 million. The economy of Nigeria is supposed to enter $1 trillion plus and all of that. That's what this man is saying. And a lot of people were caught unaware, because he said something. He said, if you are going to Africa from Europe, one of the top countries that they know is Nigeria, that you must get to Nigeria when you go to Africa. Nigeria is a very big and popular country, and it's having a high number of population and all of that. And he said Nigeria also, when you go to anywhere in the world, world, if you go to any country in the world, if you do not see Nigeria, if you do not see Nigerians in all those countries, you should pack your bags and leave. Maybe something is wrong with that country, because Nigerians are known to be everywhere in the world. And he said it is still the same Nigeria that have the highest number of Yahoo boys. That if you're looking for Yahoo boy, that you should go to Nigeria. That was the statement that caught Tinubu unaware. And now, what's the implication of this sentence? It paints Nigeria black. Nigeria did not expect this from Plo Lumumba. Tinubu did not expect this from Plo Lumumba. And the moment Plo Lumumba mentioned this statement, the former governor of Delta State, OKOWA face changed, and even Tinubu was caught unaware. Tinubu cried in this very video that I just finished watching, because what Plo Lumumba said is a big blow to the leadership of Nigeria. Because when Plo Lumumba said that if you should go to Nigeria, you will have the highest number of Yahoo boys, when he made mention of that statement, all the other world leaders, they were laughing. They made jest of Nigeria, including all African leaders in that very summit. They were laughing at Nigeria, and the face of Nigerian leaders were not smiling. They couldn't laugh, because this is a big disgrace to them. Because the moment when they did not provide the youth with good work, their negligence and lack of responsibility, this is what is leading them into. It's leading them to public disgrace now. It is not an external that is insulting them now. It is an external that they are invited, that is now talking to their face. He put them down, he sat them down on seat, then he called a spade a spade. They can't do anything to him. But I didn't mean that it's a Nigerian that come out to make mention of this kind of statement. They will say that, oh, this is cyber this is cyber that. They will want to do everything possible to silence the person. The little number of activists we have in this country, they're doing everything possible to silence them, because they know that those people are confronting them to their face. And the little number of journalists that we had that are even talking to their face, they're trying to silence them. In the lives of Rufai Hussein and Shehu Okinbaloye, they try to silence all these people just because they know that they're saying the truth. If you are saying the truth as an activist in Nigeria, if you are saying the truth as an Nigerian entity, they will want to silence you, they want to bully you, they want to intimidate you, they want to dehumanize you, or even put you in jail. That's what they do. But they invited an external now, and that external talked to their face. He even put them on share. They were seated looking at him. He even put them among all other world leaders, all other African leaders, and he made mention of it. This is a big shame to Nigeria, that if you go to Nigeria, you will see a lot of Yahoo boys. Why? Because there's no work. The government is not providing any work for them. You will see a lot of graduates among all those Yahoo boys. Graduates doing Yahoo just because they do not have work that they're doing. Employment rate is zero. Nothing is working in the country. High in price of commodity law goods is out there. There are inflations. Things are not working fine in the country. Even civil servants that are claiming to be working for the government, they are eating like rats. They're working like elephants and eating like rats. Nothing is working for them. The civil servant salary cannot even afford to buy a bag of rice. Like the minimum wages as at now, they now deliberating on increasing the minimum wages from 33,000 to 48,000 naira, and which is nothing. And for those of you that do not know the statistics, maybe you're not in Nigeria, from 33,000 to 48,000, the 48,000 they want to increase minimum wages to is around $30-something. It's not even up to $30-something. It's around $20-something, $28 to $29. That's what they want to increase the minimum wages to, and this minimum wages cannot buy a bag of rice as at Nigeria now. This present Nigeria, the cost of living of Nigeria is very high. People cannot live a good life in Nigeria again. People that are even living an average life before, they are managing to live an average life, they are not living a ridiculous life now, just because the economy have risen up beyond them. They can't afford to buy things in the market again. Things have hiked up. Take 200,000 naira to market cannot even buy you a very good thing that will sustain you for 1 month again. That is what is happening in Nigeria, and nobody will come out to call a spade to the face of these leaders in Nigeria. But an external come, kudos to Plo Lumumba. He come out and say to their face that things are not working in this country. Nigeria is a giant of Africa, but Nigerians are suffering in the same country that is called the giant. Now, what do you guys think regarding what Plo Lumumba said? Because this caught Tinubu unaware. As I'm going to get an for you, and share follow me on my social media handles on Facebook at LAJUPOG TV and LAJUPOG Entertainment, and on Instagram at LAJUPOG. Guess what, guys? See you in my next video. Bye.
I see the hot for my body, I say make I yarn you. Religious gossip plenty day for body. Pastor where they like on top, be pastor. For LAJUPOG watch TV. Pastor where they back, where politician where they do pass himself. Why you waiting for church? All as LAJUPOG watch TV.